Separation between church and state is becoming more blurred. The Trump administration saying that federal employees may discuss and promote their religious beliefs in the workplace, citing religious freedoms protected by the U.S. Constitution. Agency employees may seek to, quote, persuade others of the correctness of their own religious views in the office. That's according to the director of the Office of Personnel Management, the U.S. government's Human Resources Agency. Supervisors can also attempt to recruit their employees to their religion so long as those efforts aren't harassing in nature. Additionally, agencies can't discipline their employees for declining to talk to their coworkers about their religious views.
All right, we want to bring in Chief Legal Analyst Connolly Rhodes on this. So this actually protects an existing protection, saying, you know, just because you work for the federal government doesn't mean you need to change your religion or not express it. But this does seem murky in some ways, Khalif.
Murky is an understatement of the century. Let me start with a couple things. First of all, this Trump administration is attempting to tap into their evangelical base, more political grandstanding like we talked about earlier, and for a number of reasons. First, let's talk about how our country was founded. It was founded by folks that were running from from religious persecution. We're talking about the Pilgrims and the Puritans. They were in the Church of England. They did not like what was happening, so they moved here and came to America. 20,000 plus came here for religious freedoms. The very same things that are now placed in our Constitution, specifically religious freedom, not religious to be Christianity, but religious freedom. And so a lot of the things that the Trump administration is talking about, it's not religious freedom. Look at their new statement from President Trump in February, cited an executive order calling for agencies to eliminate the anti-Christian weaponization of the government. So this is not religious freedom. This is more Christianity freedom. And so now it's going to open the door for tons of lawsuits, because if you're saying that you can have religious freedom at workplace, which I don't think is a bad idea, but our Constitution would disagree with even my statements. But if you're saying that this is something that you're going to open the door for, it's not just Christianity, it's all religions. And that's going to put at head the Trump administration's own words, because you're asking for the removal of anti-Christian statements. Well, what are you talking about if you're saying anti-Christian? You're speaking about Islamic opportunities and things that are being spoken in the workplace. That's going to come at a head very soon. I see the lawsuits piling up, specifically folks that are going to be trying to participate in non-Christian related workplace activities, and they're going to be challenged by what the Office of Personnel Management is saying. They can now work from home. They can request time off based on their religious accommodations. Well, these are things in the past that you couldn't. I'm waiting to see what these lawsuits look like, specifically based on what their own words were against this very activity in the past.
Khalif, I'm like you. I don't mind religious conversations in the workplace too, but it's the language to me here that's important. The words recruiting coworkers, where you've got supervisors. That language to me is the part that raises a red flag, because if you're attempting to recruit, you're trying to encourage, persuade someone. If someone feels pressured that one doesn't want to have the conversation or feels backed into a corner, what kind of rights do they have to what could be an uncomfortable conversation? It
puts the person's faith even at a crosshairs. I mean, if you're a Christian, as I am, part of your religion is to go out and to do the Great Commission, to go and bring people into fellowship. And so because historically that has been a clear separation of, you don't do that in the workplace, now you're encouraging to do folks that has been shunned against by case law, by court, by our Constitution for years. It's going to put you in a very precarious situation, because I don't think the Office of Personnel Management has authority to supersede the Constitution, to supersede Supreme Court case laws precedent. So I think it's giving misinformation to folks, where you're like, okay, I'll show up to work and start trying to recruit people to come to church, and then the second someone rejects those requests, those solicitations, then now your company has been subject to lawsuits.
Well, and this is also, we're talking about federal employees, right? So this is not just a private business, a big company. This is saying that someone who works for the federal government can do that. And that's a problem in itself, too.
I think that's probably where it's a deeper problem, and because I kept saying company, but if we're talking about the federal government, that's where it's more protections, because now you're talking about public places. You're talking about places that these Supreme Court cases were specifically talking about. When you look at those like nativity scenes, where people were setting up, scenes at schools, in most of these cases we're saying you're using public dollars to promote and encourage religion. What will be the exact same thing if you're having these religious settings in federal employee workplaces, and you're using federal funds to support, say, some religious recruitment session, the person that's not believing in that faith can say that now I should not be subjected to that, and my dollars should not be supporting that. There is a millions of cases that would support against this workplace process, but I believe that this is something that they have campaigned on. Their base, their evangelical base has supported this,
right.
And I think this is one of those I made promises and I'm attempting to try to keep them.
I believe very interesting point. You bring up what happens when somebody of the Muslim faith starts trying to recruit for their religion, Islamic faith there. So interesting to see, Khalif. Thank you.
Queen City News Plus. Just search Queen City News on your smart TV's app store.